Hello, future designers and developers. This is going to be a video tutorial on creating a collapsing sidebar. So, if we're looking at our Web 2 portfolio, which I'm excited many of you are already signed up for and taking web development too, this is our next portfolio. It's a little bit more advanced than the last one that we had, but it has these really nice collapsing sidebars that act as quick links that if we want to go all the way to the CSS section, it brings us down over there. Oh, I think I have that link to the wrong one. That's okay. We find bugs when we test our code and we teach it to someone else. But anyways, I'm going to be going over how to create this nice little animation over here, as well as some positioning where we haven't used positioning a lot in the class. So I want to go over how we can accomplish this using positioning. So let's start with our HTML. This is our template document. You should be remixing this one. It's got some beginner CSS stuff in here that's going to be helpful, as well as I have already linked some Google fonts in this. So that it might behoove you to do so. So let's get started by creating a UL. A UL that has a class that is equal to sidebar. Sidebar is going to be where we are. Sorry, I'm trying to get comfortable with this. Sidebar is where we're actually going to have all of our list items. And these list items are going to be a little bit more complicated. One, we are going to give our list item a class. And that class is just going to be, we'll give that nav. We'll give that nav item. And then inside of here, we're going to have an A with a class that is equal to our nav link. That's the actual link of it, with an href that right now just has a placeholder in here. So we're just going to put a pound sign in there. And then we'll close that up. And you can see we have a list item that has a link inside of it. And then we close that list item. Now, if we're looking over here, we had some images that also fit in there. So we're also going to throw our images in there as well. We're going to leave them as placeholder images while we do some of the sorting around, and then we'll make them look a little prettier. So we're going to throw in an image with a source. We'll give the source just a placeholder, and we're also going to give it an alt. So this first one is the CSS logo, and we can close up our image. Cool. So now I've got this nice long-winded list item over here, and I'm going to need 3 of them. And we've got nav items. They all have different hashtags in there. And then the next one is not our CSS logo. This one is our JavaScript logo, and the one after that is our React logo. Those are our 3 main topics in Web 2. Is some more CSS, because you can never have too much, JavaScript, and React. All right, so there we go. We've got this sidebar. Now, in addition to the sidebar, we are also going to have a main section on here. And in our main section, we're going to have an H1. This is going to have our title, so Web Development 2 Portfolio. And after our H1, we're going to have an H2. This is just going to be student name. And we are also going to have another H2 that we are going to, we're going to give this a class that's going to be equal to school, because it's going to be the school name. Cool. So yeah, we've got Web Development 2 Portfolio, we've got student name, class name. Cool. All right, that looks pretty good. Yeah, I think we've got pretty much all the HTML besides what we're going to have to fill in with our placeholders. So let's take a look at what it looks like. We're showing a new window. Yeah, so pretty basic, pretty generic right now. We'll zoom in a little bit on that. We've got just our placeholders and stuff like that. We've got our images before. Oh, that's just the alt text. That's the alt text that's coming up because we don't actually have images in there. So that's what it looks like when you don't have it. Cool. All right, so let's get into our CSS and let's start working some magic with these things. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to call out our nav item. And now this is going to have a lot of different properties to it. So the first thing that I am going to do with it is I am going to create a comment that this is just going to be on font. This is going to be on all of our font stuff, and then we're also going to have to deal with positioning as well as its display properties. All those are going to go together. So inside of here, that might be one of the reasons that we're not seeing anything. We actually have to write the things inside of here. So we're going to write CSS, we're going to write JavaScript, and then we're also going to write our React, because those are going to be the words that we're actually editing with our fonts. Cool. All right, so like I said, I've got the font family saved up here. We're going to do Poppins. So we're going to have Poppins. We're going to give this a font size of 2 rem. No, we'll keep it 1 rem for now. We'll see. Cool. We got 1 rem over there. I also want this at a higher font weight. So font weight, we're going to do 500. I don't think that changed it. Let's just do bold. Blood. Bold. Cool. That looks good. We've got the font size, we've got the font family, we got the font weight, everything like that. Cool. We've got our images over here. In our nav item, the other thing that we're going to do, we're going to give it a background color. And the background, I'm just going to do background, so background color. I believe it's 333. No, it's 111. Cool, 111. We're going to get to, we can't change the blue or the underline yet. That's going to be when we call it our A tag. So now we've got our background 111. Let's give it some margins to space these out a little bit. So we'll do 1 rem. Cool, those got spaced out nicely. We're also going to give it a width because we don't want them this long. Let's do 10 rem. Cool, 10 rem looks good. There's a little bit of collapsing here, but I think those are going to get rid of that. Let's also give it a border radius, but we just want our outside edge borders rounded. So we're going to do 0, 0, 3 rem, 3 rem. I think I may have one off. Yes. So it is 0 rem for the last one, or 0 for the last one, and then it should be 3 rem for the middle two. So 0, 3, 3, 0. Cool. All right, we got that looking fine. And it's going to expand a little bit once we get our images. Cool. All right. So we had fonts, and then I was going to stick with commenting, so let's do some more commenting. This is just going to be general styling, just to make it look pretty. Cool. We got general styling right over there. All right, so let's call out that A tag, so we get that A tag where we want it to be. We're going to call out our Navlink. We gave it a class. So Navlink, we're going to give it a color, and we're not going to make this perfectly white. It's going to be a slight off-white, so FE, 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 FE. And so we're big fans of iron here. It's a Ferris joke. Cool. Anyways, we're going to get rid of its text decoration, and we're going to say none. Cool. That's looking much better. Now, let's give, I want to give all this a padding. So I'm going to go back into the general styling. I'm going to give it a padding of 1 rem. 1 rem might have been too much. Let's do 0.5. oh yeah, let's also get rid of that list style. List style none. Cool. All right, so now we got these elements that are kind of hanging out over here. Let's grab our images and throw that in there. So I have these images sized up. They're not sized up, but they're more rounded. So let's grab, we're gonna start with our CSS one, go into our index, and that's gonna replace this placeholder. And then I'm gonna go into the index again, or no, my assets again. We'll grab React this time, go into the index, and that's the last one. I'm doing this totally out of order. Go into assets, grab JavaScript, copy that one, and then throw that in there. Cool. So now, yeah, way too big, and also my CSS logo did not load. Oh, that's because I put it in the href. I'll replace that back with my placeholder. Throw that in the source. Cool. All right, you can see they're way too big. So let's go into our CSS and let's resize those images. So we're going to call out our dot nav link, and we're going to call out our image inside of that, so img, and let's give all of these a set height of 45 pixels. Oh, that's because it's nav item, not nav link. There we go. There we go. Sweet. All right, those look pretty good. They're a little big, but that's also, I have this at 250%. So yeah, no, they're fine. They're fine. We'll keep that larger just so it's a little bit easier to see. That's trouble with doing that. All right, the next thing that I want to do, I want to go on to some positioning, or not some positioning, but some display. We're going to do some different display properties over here. And inside of our display properties, we are going to give a display flex. That right there is going to line them up a little bit. And let's do our align items center. This is going to get them all in the same row. Perfect. They're really close to each other, so let's give it a gap. Let's do a gap of 1 rem. Sweet, there's a little bit of space there. And then I want all of them to be aligned at the end over here. So we're going to give it a justify content, and this is going to be at end. So now they're aligned at the end. Sweet. All those buttons are looking really good, really good. There is one more general display thing that I want to do with it. I want to give it a box shadow. So I'm going to do box shadow, and it's going to be 0, 0, 2 pixels, and then I want to give it an opaque background. So I'm going to do RGBA opaque. A background that's semi-transparent. So 0, 0, 0, and then let's do 0.4. Cool. All right, and that's fine. It's going off on the side over here, but we're not even going to see all that. All right. There's one thing that I forgot to do right at the beginning, which I probably could have done this for y'all because we've done it so many times. We're going to set our margin to 0 and our padding to 0. This is going to be important with our list items because they have some inherent properties just when we throw them in there. And we're going to do our box sizing is border box. Cool. All right. Sweet. So we got those over here. And now what we're going to do, we're going to actually create this main section, make this look pretty, and you're going to see that we're eventually going to get it where our main section is underneath the buttons that move out like this. So let's get to that point. Let's go over and call out, I just did this inside of the main. So we're going to call out our main, and this we're going to give a display flex. Then we are going to align our items center. So align items center, justify content center, and then we also are going to change our flex direction because we put everything into a row. So we want to do flex direction column. All right, cool. That's looking fine. We do want to change all of our fonts in this, so we're going to grab that font up here. Cool. Let's also, let's give this a overall height of 500 pixels. Keep it a little bit larger. All right, and then I also have this background that is ready for us to use, which is this nice gradient. So we need both of these lines over here. And that's gonna go into the bottom right there. Look at how nice that looks. It's a little big right now, but so we can always change that. Maybe I drop this down to 300. Oh, once again, it's because I have this obnoxiously scaled. So yeah, maybe I'll stop doing that now. Cool, 600 was pretty good. Now, after we have the background, let's change the color of our text to that off-white, FE, FE, FE. There we go. Cool. And we can always call out our H2, and we can give it a font weight regular, or not regular, it's normal. There we go. So now they're not bold, a little bit better. Sweet. All right, now we have these over here, and we've got this over here, and we're going to fix this very quickly. What we are going to do is we're going to give every single one of these items a absolute positioning. What absolute positioning is going to do is going to take all these items outside of the flow of our traditional web page, and it's going to allow them to be placed wherever we want. Now, this is really powerful, but it's also not something that I particularly encourage you to use, and avoid it pretty much whenever you can, because absolute positioning can take things out of the web page. It's a little bit harder to work with, and it's just a little finicky. So if you can position things in other ways, you typically want to do that, especially centering items. When we have something like Flexbox or Grid that are so good at that, we don't really need absolute positioning for that. It's a little dated. So let's get into making all of these have a position absolute. So we've already done our font, we've done general styling, and we've done some display properties. So after our display properties over here, let's give this some positioning. And we'll close that up. Cool. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to start somewhere else, because before we give this, I don't even know if it actually makes too much of a difference positioning within the items or in the UL. But we're going to give this a position absolute. When we do that, you can see all of them stack on top of each other, and our main moves up. So all of them are stacked on top of each other. So what we're going to have to do is give them all different positions after that. But the first thing that I'm going to do, actually I'm going to do the other part first. I'm going to give them a second class. And this is something that we haven't really gone over. Right here, when we have a class of Navlink, we can give each of them an individual class. So I'm going to give this a class of link 1, and now they have 2 different classes to them. So that's link 1, this is going to be link 2, and this one over here is link 3. We obviously can do this inside of an ID, but I'm just being lazy and don't want to type out ID. Cool. So after this, I'm going to make a spot to call out each of those. I'm going to do link 1, and then I'm just going to copy and paste this a couple times. So link 1, 2, and So now that I've called them out, I can give all of them a positioning from our top. Once we give a position absolute, we have access to properties of top, left, bottom, and right. So if I go over to top and I set a position top to 0, it's going to move it up to 0. And it should have. Link 1. Link 1. Alright, we'll see. Yeah, let's move them all over. Maybe we're gonna go left, because that's our left side of our page, and we're gonna do -100. Oh, it's because I don't have a property here, or a unit. I'm gonna move this over a -7 rem. Cool, all of them moved over 7 rem, but I don't think that my top one moved up at all, so that's a little concerning, but we'll check in with that. So I did not go far enough because I want the text to be totally invisible on there, so we'll do a -8 rem. Cool, so now that is spaced over here, and like I said, I just need to space them out from there. So let's double check. I've got my dot class. This is, oh, it's because I gave them to the A tag, not to the actual list item itself, because I'm here thinking link. I should have put it in here. I'm just going to do 1, 2, and 3. Cool. So we got 1, 2, and 3. Those are all of our list items. We're just going to change this over to 1. And now when I give this a top property of 0, because it's at 0, it should move up. Oh, no, it didn't again. Oh, no. Yeah, that's strange. All right. Let's continue and see if it works itself out. Let's do, I'm going to actually do this. Top of 1 rem. Cool, it started to move. So we're back in business. For 2, I'm going to give this a top, so a distance from the top equal to, let's do 4 rem. Cool, and then our 3 over here, we're going to give this a top of 8 rem, because I think I'm also going to need to space these out a little better. Yeah, you can see they're all kind of crushed in on each other, so let's drop this down to 2 rem, let's put this at 7, and let's do this one at 12. Cool, so now we have 2 space up here, and then there's 5 rem in between the tops of each of them. So that gives us a nice little spacing over here, and we have these kind of hidden to the side. Cool. So that was using positioning. We used a position absolute, and we took its 0, 0 position, and we moved it over to the left, so now it's hidden, and then we have it on the right, or we moved it from the top, so we moved it down from that top over there. Cool. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add a hover effect. So when we do our 1 hover, when we do our dot 2 hover, and when we do our dot 3 hover, we are going to remove that left of -8, but we're going to make it a little, we're still going to do like a -2 rem. We'll see how that is. Cool, that actually looks really good. Except for how fast it's doing this. So let's go back over here and we're going to add a transition. It's just going to be a general transition. Let's do at 0.5 seconds. Cool. They slide out nicely. And then we're also going to take this transition and we're going to add it back to our just regular list item. There we go. Look at that. That's wonderful. All right. So there's one more thing that I wanted to do before we go. Gosh, this is the longest video I have ever made for this course. So now, what we are going to do is we are going to take the school name and we're going to position it down over here. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the index, and I gave this a class of school. That's what I was checking right now. So now I can give this a position, but I want to give this a position relative to my main. So what I have to do first is go to my main and give it a position relative. By doing this, I can take my position over here, this item, and make it relative to all the things else on this page. Oh, also when I did this, I had another thing that I have to fix, so that's okay. So now this is position relative, that's the parent element, is this main. So I can take this position and position it, or this school name, and position it relative to this. So that's why we set that one at relative. So now when I go and call out my dot school, I can give this a property of bottom. Oh, well, first I want to give it a position absolute, and we are going to give it a bottom of 0 and a right, because we want it in the bottom right of 0. So we're going to move it over. And now you can see it's over there at 0, 0. So let's change that up. Let's make it 1 rem and 1 rem. So it's just slightly moved off there. I think I want to move it a little bit more from the right. So we'll do 1 rem and 2 rem. Cool. That looks better. So now I've got the school name over here, and I can change its opacity, set opacity to, we'll say, 0.6. So there we go. All right, now when I gave this a position relative, it did move all of our items back there. We're now interacting with our ZIndex, which is just the 3-dimensional spacing of our items on our page. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that our nav items all have the top priority. So we're going to give this a ZIndex property, and this ZIndex property is going to be that of 2. Just to move it up and give it a little bit more priority. Cool. All right. That is it. Thank you so much for watching. Please reach out if you have any questions. There's going to be a step-by-step written tutorial with this as well. So that's it. I'll talk to you later. Bye.